Have you ever walked past someone without looking at them twice? Perhaps a cleaner, a security guard, a gardener, a janitor, people we often see but rarely notice. Now imagine this. What if the man pushing the mop every morning owned the entire building? What if the person emptying your trash signed your salary every month? And what if the woman everyone mocked for falling in love with a janitor was actually marrying one of the richest men in Africa? This isn't a story about money. It's a story about character. Because sometimes the richest man in the room is the one nobody respects. On the 38th floor of Lawson Group headquarters, the boardroom was silent. A long mahogany table stretched across the room. 12 directors sat with perfectly arranged files. No one dared speak. At the head of the table sat Richard Lawson, founder of Lawson Group, a business empire worth billions. Construction, real estate, shipping, technology, hotels. His name carried influence from Lagos to Dubai. Beside him sat his wife, Margaret Lawson, elegant, calm, wise. Across from them sat their only son, Ethan Lawson, 34 years old, Harvard-educated, brilliant businessman, the future of the company. Richard folded his hands. Ethan, how many companies do you currently oversee? 7. And last year's revenue? Ethan answered without looking at his notes. Just over 300 billion naira. Richard nodded. And your biggest weakness? For the first time, Ethan hesitated. Margaret looked at her son gently. Richard repeated the question. What's your biggest weakness? Ethan smiled faintly. I work too much. Richard shook his head. No, you don't trust people. Silence. You know how to build companies. You don't know how to build a family. Margaret spoke softly. Your father is worried. Ethan leaned back. I've heard this conversation before. Richard's voice became firm. You've dated actresses. You've dated influencers. You've dated women from wealthy families. And every relationship ended exactly the same way. They loved your money. They didn't love you. Ethan looked through the glass wall overlooking Lagos. Maybe love just isn't for me. His mother smiled sadly. No, son. You're simply looking in the wrong places. Richard stood, walked toward a window, then spoke without turning around. When I met your mother, I owned nothing. We shared one apartment, one old car, and more dreams and money. He turned slowly. She believed in me before the world did. He pointed gently at Ethan. You've never had that opportunity. Ethan frowned. What are you saying? Richard smiled. I'm taking your wealth away. The directors exchanged confused glances. Ethan laughed. You can't be serious. Oh, I'm very serious. For 6 months, you won't be Ethan Lawson. You won't be CEO. You won't have a driver. No private jet. No penthouse. No luxury watches. No security team. No executive office. Ethan stared at him. So what exactly will I be? Richard walked back to his chair. He opened a small folder. Inside was an employee identification card. He slid it across the table. Ethan picked it up. His eyes widened. Jacob Ade, department, facilities management, position, janitor. Ethan looked up. You expect me to clean floors? Richard nodded. I expect you to discover people. Margaret reached across the table. She gently held Ethan's hand. My son, if one woman can respect a janitor, she respect a billionaire. Richard added quietly, if she falls in love with your bank account, you'll lose your marriage before it even begins. The room became silent. Ethan looked down at the ID card again. A mop, a bucket, a blue uniform. He had negotiated billion-naira contracts. Tomorrow, he would clean toilets. 3 days later, nobody recognized him. His beard had been trimmed differently. His expensive haircut was gone. He wore worn-out work boots, a faded blue janitor's uniform, a simple name tag, Jacob, no luxury perfume, no designer watch. No polished shoes, just another cleaner. Or so everyone believed. The security guard barely looked at him. New staff. Jacob smiled. Yes. Go through the service entrance. Not the main entrance. The service entrance. He nodded politely. Thank you. As he walked through the narrow hallway, he smiled to himself. For the first time in years, nobody cared who he was. His supervisor, Mr. Musa, handed him a mop. You're responsible for the executive floor. Jacob accepted it. Any advice? Mr. Musa laughed. Yes. Stay invisible. Jacob looked confused. People only notice cleaners when something goes wrong. Clean quietly. Leave quietly. And don't expect anyone to say thank you. Jacob nodded. I understand. He didn't. Not yet. At exactly 8:15 a.m., employees flooded into the building. Expensive suits, high heels, laptop bags, coffee cups. Nobody looked at Jacob. One executive walked past. His coffee cup slipped from his hand. It splashed across the polished floor. He glanced down, then looked at Jacob. Cleaner. Handle that. No apology, no eye contact. He simply walked away. Jacob stared at the spilled coffee, then quietly began cleaning. For the first time in his life, he wasn't being respected because of his title. He was being ignored because of his uniform. Around noon, he entered the administrative department. Rows of filing cabinets lined the walls. Stacks of documents covered every desk. Mrs. Rebecca Williams looked up from her computer. She smiled warmly. Oh, you must be the new cleaner. Jacob smiled back. Yes, ma'am. Welcome. Would you like some water? Jacob blinked. Nobody had offered him anything all morning. Thank you. I'd appreciate that. She handed him a bottle of water, then smiled again. If anyone gives you trouble, come and tell me. Jacob couldn't explain why, but those simple words stayed with him. Kindness, given freely, without asking who he was, without knowing what he owned, without expecting anything in return. As he continued mopping the hallway, he noticed a young woman entering the office carrying a box of neatly organized files. She wore a simple cream blouse, black skirt, flat shoes, no expensive jewelry, no designer handbag. She laughed as she greeted her mother. Mom, I finished arranging those pension records you brought home. Mrs. Rebecca smiled proudly. My second daughter always rescues me. The young woman turned. Their eyes met for only a second. She smiled at Jacob, not because she knew him, not because she pitied him, simply because she acknowledged another human being. Good afternoon. Jacob smiled back. Good afternoon. He watched as she disappeared into the records room. He didn't know her name. She didn't know his secret. But something about that smile felt more genuine than every glamorous smile he had received in years. He had come to the company to test people's character. He never expected that the first person to pass the test wouldn't even know she was taking it. The second week, Jacob had already learned something that years of business school had never taught him. People don't always reveal their character. When they meet powerful people, they reveal it when they believe no one important is watching. Every morning, he arrived before sunrise. He polished glass doors, emptied waste bins, mopped hallways, cleaned executive offices. By 8 o'clock, the building looked perfect, yet almost nobody noticed. One Monday morning, Jacob was wiping the reception floor when two senior managers walked past. One of them stepped directly onto the wet floor. He slipped slightly. Instead of apologizing, he turned toward Jacob. What kind of nonsense is this? You cleaners are becoming lazy. Jacob bowed his head politely. I'm sorry, sir. The manager scoffed. You people only know how to collect salaries. As they walked away, the second manager laughed. I don't even know why they employ so many cleaners. Jacob continued mopping, not because he agreed, but because he was learning. Upstairs, Victor Grant watched everything through the glass wall of his office. Regional director, 48 years old, expensive suits, luxury watches, perfect smile, corrupt heart. He pressed the intercom. Send the new cleaner in. Jacob knocked. Come in. Victor didn't look up. He continued signing documents. Almost 2 minutes passed. Jacob stood quietly. Finally, Victor looked up. So, you're the new janitor? Yes, sir. Victor pointed toward the floor. My office should shine. I don't like fingerprints. I don't like dust. And I certainly don't like excuses. Jacob nodded. I understand. Victor leaned back. Good. Know your place. Jacob smiled politely. I always do. Victor mistook that answer for submission. He had no idea he was speaking to the owner of the company. That afternoon, Jacob entered the administrative department again. Mrs. Rebecca was sorting old personnel files. Oh, good. She smiled. Jacob, can you help me move these boxes? Of course. Together, they carried dusty archive boxes into the storage room. Rebecca laughed. You know, most cleaners disappear when they see extra work. Jacob smiled. My father always said, if something needs to be done, do it well. Rebecca nodded approvingly. He raised you right. Jacob quietly smiled. If only you knew. Just then, someone entered carrying 2 cups of coffee. Mom, you forgot your break again. Rebecca smiled. There she is. My personal assistant. The young woman laughed. I don't charge much. Rebecca turned toward Jacob. This is my daughter, Naomi Williams. Naomi smiled warmly. It's nice to finally meet you. Jacob accepted the coffee she offered. You bought this for me? She looked surprised. Of course. You've been helping Mom all afternoon. You deserve a break too. Jacob hesitated. No one had bought him coffee in years. Not because they couldn't, because they assumed successful men didn't need kindness. Today, kindness came in a paper cup, offered without expectation. The 3 of them sat together in the records room. Rebecca answered a phone call and stepped outside. For the first time, Jacob and Naomi were alone. Naomi smiled. So, how long have you been working here? 2 weeks. Do you like it? Jacob looked around. I'm still learning. She laughed. I suppose every job teaches something. What about you? Naomi shrugged. I studied business administration. I'm looking for a full-time position. For now, I help Mom with filing on weekends. Jacob nodded. So you don't mind helping? She looked puzzled. Why would I? My mother helped me all my life. It's my turn now. Jacob admired that answer. No pride, no complaints, only gratitude. As they talked, a loud voice interrupted them. Victor Grant entered unexpectedly. He stopped when he saw Naomi sitting beside the janitor. His expression hardened. Miss Williams. Naomi stood. Good afternoon, sir. Victor glanced at Jacob. You shouldn't waste office hours chatting with cleaners. Naomi remained calm. We were having coffee. Victor smiled sarcastically. Coffee? With him? Several employees nearby looked up. The room became uncomfortable. Naomi looked directly at Victor. Yes, sir. Victor folded his arms. Do you know why people fail in life? They become too comfortable around people going nowhere. Silence. Jacob lowered his eyes. Not out of shame, out of self-control. Naomi spoke gently. My mother always taught me. Respect isn't a promotion. It's a choice. The entire office became silent. Victor's smile disappeared. He adjusted his tie. You'll understand corporate life one day. He turned and walked away. The moment he left, Rebecca returned. What happened? Naomi smiled. Nothing important. Jacob looked at Naomi. In 10 years of attending elite parties, no woman had ever defended him. Today, someone defended a janitor, without knowing he owned the company. That evening, Jacob sat alone in his small rented apartment. No luxury furniture, no private chef, no assistants, just silence. He replayed the day in his mind. Victor's arrogance, Rebecca's kindness, Naomi's courage. He smiled, then picked up his phone. His father's name appeared on the screen. How's life as a cleaner? Jacob laughed softly. It's changing me. Richard smiled through the phone. Found anyone interesting yet? Jacob looked out the window. I've found someone, but I don't think she's interested in money. His father chuckled. Good. That means you're finally looking in the right place. The following Friday, the company cafeteria buzzed with conversation. Every table was occupied. Jacob collected his simple lunch: rice, beans, a bottle of water. As usual, he looked for an empty corner. Before he could sit, a familiar voice called out, Jacob. He turned. Naomi was waving. There's space here. The cafeteria felt unusually quiet. Employees exchanged glances. One whispered, Is she calling the cleaner? Another laughed. Maybe she feels sorry for him. Naomi ignored them. She smiled again. Come and join us. Jacob hesitated, then walked over. As he sat down, one of the ladies of the next table leaned toward her friend and whispered loudly enough for everyone to hear. Imagine choosing to eat with a janitor. Naomi calmly placed her spoon on the table. She looked at the woman and smiled. I don't eat with job titles. I eat with human beings. The entire cafeteria became silent. Even Jacob was speechless. In that moment, he realized something. He had spent years searching for a beautiful woman, but beauty had never been what he needed. He needed someone who could see dignity, even beneath a blue janitor's uniform. For the first time in many years, Jacob Lawson felt something he couldn't buy: hope. Monday morning, Jacob arrived earlier than usual. The office was still quiet. Only the security guards, the cleaners, and a few early administrative staff had arrived. He wheeled his janitor's cart down the executive hallway. As he polished the glass doors, he noticed someone struggling with 3 heavy archive boxes. It was Naomi. The boxes nearly slipped from her hands. Jacob hurried over. Please, allow me. She smiled. Thank you. Together, they carried the boxes into the records room. Naomi laughed. I keep telling Mom these files are older than both of us. Jacob smiled. So why keep carrying them? She shrugged. Because they're important to someone. Jacob looked at her. You always help people, don't you? Naomi paused. My father taught me something before he died. If you have 2 hands, one should help someone else. Jacob remained silent. That simple sentence stayed with him all day. Around noon, the company cafeteria was crowded again. Jacob quietly collected his tray. Before he could sit, Victor Grant called loudly from across the room. Cleaner. The entire cafeteria turned. Jacob walked over. Yes, sir. Victor pointed toward a table. There was coffee spilled there. Clean it. Jacob looked at the floor. The spill had happened less than a minute earlier. He placed his lunch on the table, picked up a cloth, and began cleaning. Several employees watched. Some looked away. Others laughed quietly. One manager whispered, I quit before doing that. Another replied, that's why he'll remain a cleaner forever. Jacob heard every word, but he said nothing. As he finished, Naomi stood up. She walked toward him. Without saying a word, she picked up his untouched lunch tray. Everyone watched. She carried it back to her table, then waited. When Jacob returned, she smiled. I didn't want your food getting cold. The cafeteria fell silent again. Victor frowned. Miss Williams. She looked up. Yes, sir. You seem unusually interested in the cleaning staff. Naomi answered calmly. I'm interested in decent people. Victor scoffed. You won't get very far thinking like that. Naomi smiled. My mother has spent 22 years in this company. She taught me something. What was that? The people who clean your office deserve the same respect as the people who sit inside it. Nobody spoke. Victor picked up his coffee, then walked away without another word. Jacob looked at Naomi. You didn't have to do that. She smiled. I know. I wanted to. That evening, Jacob received a phone call. It was his father. So, how's the experiment? Jacob looked out at his apartment window. I thought I understood people. I didn't. Richard laughed softly. What happened today? Jacob told him everything. The insults, the humiliation, Naomi defending him. His father became quiet. Finally, he said, money hides many truths, but uniforms reveal them. Jacob nodded. I think I've met someone different. Richard smiled. Be careful. Why? Don't fall in love with kindness before you understand her character. Jacob smiled. I think her kindness is her character. The next weekend, Naomi came to help her mother again. The administrative office was almost empty. Rebecca stepped out for a meeting, leaving Jacob and Naomi organizing files together. After an hour, Naomi noticed Jacob reading a business magazine. During his break, she looked surprised. You enjoy finance? Jacob smiled. A little. She laughed. A little. You're reading an article on international mergers. Jacob closed the magazine. I like learning. Naomi sat opposite him. You don't seem like a janitor. Jacob raised an eyebrow. What does a janitor seem like? She smiled awkwardly. I didn't mean it that way. I know. She looked at him carefully. You speak differently. You observe people. You ask thoughtful questions. It feels like... She stopped. Jacob smiled. Like what? Like you're hiding something. For a brief second, Jacob almost told her the truth. Almost. Instead, he laughed. I'm hiding nothing. Naomi smiled. I don't believe you. Before either of them could continue, a loud crash echoed through the office. Everyone ran outside. One of the elderly cleaners had collapsed. Mrs. Agnes, 63 years old. She struggled to breathe. Employees gathered around. Most simply watched. Some recorded videos on their phones. Others walked away. Jacob knelt immediately. Call an ambulance. No one moved. Naomi pulled out her phone. I'm calling now. Jacob removed his folded jacket, placed it beneath Mrs. Agnes' head. Ma'am, can you hear me? She nodded weakly. Naomi held the woman's hand. It's okay. Help is coming. Within minutes, the ambulance arrived. As paramedics lifted Mrs. Agnes onto the stretcher, she grabbed Jacob's hand. Through tears, she whispered, Thank you. You saw me. Jacob squeezed her hand gently. No, you've always deserved to be seen. Naomi watched everything, her eyes filled with emotion. Later that evening, she couldn't stop thinking about what she had witnessed. Not the emergency, not the ambulance, but the way Jacob treated someone everyone else ignored. She smiled to herself. Maybe the world needs more janitors. Little did she know, the Mun she admired wasn't simply cleaning floors. He was quietly cleaning away years of pride, privilege, and assumptions, his own as much as everyone else's. And somewhere deep inside, Jacob realized his journey was no longer just about finding a wife. It was about becoming the kind of man worthy of the woman he hoped would one day choose him. The following Monday, something had changed. Jacob noticed at the moment he entered the administrative department. Naomi smiled before he even said a word. Good morning, Jacob. Good morning. I brought breakfast. Jacob looked surprised. For me? She laughed. For both of us. My mother made moi. I brought the pap. Jacob smiled. I think we make a good team. So do I. For the first time in years, breakfast felt like home. Across the office, Victor Grant watched him through the glass wall. His face hardened. He turned to his assistant. Who is that woman? Naomi Williams, sir. The administrator's daughter. Victor frowned. She spends too much time with the cleaner. The assistant smiled nervously. They're only friends. Victor shook his head. Friendships create distractions. I don't like distractions. Later that morning, Jacob was cleaning the executive conference room. Victor deliberately dropped a stack of confidential files onto the floor, hundreds of pages scattered everywhere. He looked directly at Jacob, picked them up. Jacob bent down quietly. One page caught his attention. It was an invoice, grossly inflated, nearly 3 times the actual value. He continued gathering the papers without reacting. Another document, another suspicious payment, then another. Jacob recognized the signatures. Victor wasn't just arrogant. He was stealing from the company. Millions, perhaps billions. Jacob quietly placed every document back into the file. His expression never changed. Inside, his mind was already working. That afternoon, Naomi found Jacob sitting alone outside the building during his lunch break. He stared at the busy Lagos traffic. You look troubled. Jacob smiled. Just thinking. She sat beside him. About work. About people. Naomi nodded. They're complicated. Jacob laughed. That's one way to describe them. She looked at him carefully. Can I ask you something? Of course. If someone looked down on you every day, what would you do? Jacob thought for a moment. Nothing. She looked surprised. You wouldn't fight back? No. You wouldn't report them? No. Why? Jacob smiled. Because people eventually reveal who they are. You don't have to expose everyone. Sometimes, you simply give them enough time. Naomi smiled. I've never met anyone who thinks like you. Jacob looked at her. I've never met anyone who listens like you. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence wasn't awkward. It was peaceful. That evening, Rebecca invited Jacob to join them for dinner. Oh no, Ma. I couldn't. Rebecca laughed. You've helped me carry files for 3 weeks. The least I can do is feed you. Naomi smiled. Please come. Jacob hesitated, then nodded. I'd be honored. Rebecca's home was small, but warm. Fresh flowers stood by the window. Family photographs covered the walls. Everything was simple. Everything felt alive. Rebecca served steaming jollof rice, grilled chicken, salad. As they ate, laughter filled the room. Rebecca smiled. So Jacob, where's your family? Jacob paused. They're alive. We're just not very close at the moment. It wasn't a lie. It just wasn't the whole truth. Naomi noticed the sadness in his eyes. She gently changed the subject. So, what do you dream of becoming? Rebecca laughed. Don't tell me. You want to become head janitor. Everyone laughed, even Jacob. Then he answered seriously. I want to build something that changes people's lives. Rebecca smiled. That's a beautiful dream. Naomi looked at him quietly. She believed him. As Jacob prepared to leave, Rebecca handed him a small food container. Take this. You'll have breakfast tomorrow. Jacob smiled. You've already done too much. Rebecca shook her head. My late husband always said, if God sends someone to your table, don't let them leave hungry. Jacob felt his throat tighten. No boardroom dinner, no 5-star restaurant, no luxury banquet had ever made him feel this valued. The next morning, news spread through the company. Someone had anonymously reported financial irregularities to the internal audit department. Victor Grant was furious. He stormed through every office, demanding answers, threatening employees. No one leave this building until I know who reported me. Fear spread across every department. Jacob quietly continued mopping the hallway. Victor stopped in front of him. You. Jacob looked up. Yes, sir. You've been cleaning my office. Yes, sir. Victor stepped closer. If I discover you've touched any confidential files, I'll make sure you never work in the city again. Jacob remained calm. I understand. Victor walked away. Naomi had witnessed the entire conversation. She hurried toward Jacob. Are you okay? Jacob smiled. I've survived worse. She frowned. Sometimes I wonder how you stay so calm. Jacob looked into her eyes. My father taught me something. What was it? The louder someone tries to prove they're powerful, the more afraid they usually are. Naomi smiled. Your father sounds like a wise man. Jacob quietly whispered, he really is. That weekend, Naomi invited Jacob to church. He hesitated. I don't think I'd fit in. She laughed. Church isn't for people who fit in. It's for people who need hope. Jacob couldn't argue with that. Sunday morning arrived. For the first time in years, the billionaire who owned one of Nigeria's largest companies walked into church wearing his faded janitor's shoes. Not one person recognized him. Not one person cared. They simply welcomed him. As the choir sang, Jacob closed his eyes. He realized something unexpected. He hadn't come to the company just to find a wife. He had come to find himself, and without realizing it, he was slowly finding both. But outside the church, a black luxury SUV had just pulled into the parking lot. Inside sat Richard Lawson. Beside him was Margaret. They had come quietly, simply to see the woman their son couldn't stop talking about. Margaret watched Naomi laughing with Rebecca after the service. She smiled warmly, then turned to her husband. I think our son has finally found the right woman. Richard nodded. Now, let's see if she's found the right one. Neither of them knew that the greatest test was still ahead. 3 months had passed. What had started as an experiment was becoming a new life. Jacob no longer counted the days until the 6 months ended. For the first time, he wasn't living behind a title. He was simply living, and strangely, he had never felt richer. Every Saturday, Naomi still came to the office to help her mother. Employees had become used to seeing her. They had also become used to seeing Jacob nearby. The gossip never stopped. One receptionist whispered, I still don't understand her. Another replied, she's beautiful, educated, young, and she's always with a cleaner. A third laughed, maybe she's practicing charity. They all laughed. None of them noticed. Naomi had heard every word. She simply smiled, then continued walking. That afternoon, Jacob found Naomi arranging old employee files. You seem happy today. She looked up. I am. What happened? She smiled. I got an interview. Jacob's face lit up. That's wonderful. It's for the Human Resources Department. You'll do well. She laughed. You sound very confident. I am. What if I fail? Jacob looked at her. You won't. How can you be so sure? Because people who genuinely care about others usually make the best leaders. Naomi smiled. You always know the right thing to say. Jacob laughed. No, I just made enough mistake to recognize wisdom when I see it. Meanwhile, Victor Grant was becoming desperate. The internal audit department had begun asking difficult questions. Invoices, contracts, payments, everything was under review. Victor knew someone had exposed him. He just didn't know who. One evening, he walked through the executive corridor. He noticed Jacob emptying a waste bin. Victor stopped. You. Jacob looked up. Yes, sir. Victor reached into his wallet, pulled out a 5,000 naira note. He held it in front of Jacob. I need a favor. Jacob remained silent. Victor lowered his voice. If anyone from internal audit asks questions, you've never seen documents in my office. Understand? Jacob looked at the money, then back at Victor. I'm sorry, sir. I can't do that. Victor smiled coldly. It's only 5,000. Jacob shook his head. My honesty isn't for sale. Victor's smile disappeared. You cleaners. You think integrity will make you rich? Jacob answered quietly. No, but it helps me sleep. Victor crumpled the money. You'll regret this. Jacob returned to his work. Without another word, that evening, Naomi and Rebecca invited Jacob for dinner again. This time, Rebecca cooked pounded yam and a goosey soup. Jacob laughed. If you keep feeding me like this, I'll never leave. Rebecca smiled. Then don't. The room filled with laughter. After dinner, the electricity suddenly went out. Darkness covered the house. Rebecca sighed. Not again. Naomi lit 2 candles. Their soft glow filled the small living room. For a few quiet moments, nobody spoke. Then Rebecca smiled. You young people talk. I'm going to make tea. She disappeared into the kitchen, leaving Jacob and Naomi alone. Naomi looked at the candlelight. I've always loved moments like this. Jacob smiled. Without electricity? She laughed. No, without distractions. She looked at him. Can I ask you something? Anything. What are you afraid of? Jacob hesitated. Finally, he answered honestly. I'm afraid that someone will stop loving me the moment they discover who I really am. Naomi frowned. I don't understand. Jacob smiled softly. Maybe one day you will. She thought for a moment, then quietly said, I don't think titles tell us who people are. Jacob looked at her. What does? The choices they make. When nobody is watching. Jacob felt his heart race. She had unknowingly answered the very question that had brought him into her life. The following week, the company announced its annual community service day. Every department would spend one day serving the local community. Employees complained immediately. Why should executives clean streets? I'm not planting trees. I didn't study for this. Victor rolled his eyes. What a waste of productive hours. But the event went ahead. Executives, managers, interns, drivers, security guards, cleaners, everyone wore the same simple company t-shirt. No expensive suits, no reserved parking, no executive offices, just people working together. Jacob quietly swept the neighborhood playground. Naomi joined him. Soon, children gathered around them. One little boy smiled. Uncle, can I help? Jacob handed him a small broom. Of course. For the next hour, the billionaire and the little boy cleaned side by side. Neither knew the other's story. Neither cared. Nearby, Naomi watched Jacob laughing with the children. She noticed how patiently he listened, how gently he spoke, how naturally people trusted him. She smiled to herself. This man has one of the richest hearts I've ever seen. Later that afternoon, rain began to fall. Employees rushed toward their cars. Within minutes, the playground was almost empty. An elderly woman selling roasted corn struggled to pull her cart through the muddy road. Without hesitation, Jacob ran over. Let me help. Together, he pushed the heavy cart uphill. By the time they reached the top, his clothes were soaked. The old woman held his hands. My son, may God bless the woman who marries you. Naomi had witnessed everything. She quietly wiped away a tear, not because Jacob had helped, but because he helped when nobody expected applause. That night, Richard Lawson received a phone call from his wife. Margaret's voice was calm. I went back today. You did? Yes. I wanted to see her again. Richard smiled. And Margaret paused. I watched Naomi get her umbrella to an elderly woman in the rain. What did she do afterward? She walked home in the rain herself. Richard closed his eyes, then smiled. I think our search is over. Across the city, Jacob sat alone in his apartment. He picked up the engagement ring his mother had secretly given him before the experiment began. He stared at it for a long time, then whispered, I think I found her. He smiled, not because she was beautiful, though she was, not because she was intelligent, though she certainly was. He smiled because, for the first time in his life, he had met someone who saw dignity before status, character before wealth, the man before the money. He didn't know it yet, but someone else had already begun investigating him. Naomi. There were too many unanswered questions. A janitor who quoted great business leaders, who understood finance, who carried himself with quiet confidence, who never complained, who seemed strangely familiar. She wasn't trying to discover whether Jacob was rich. She simply wanted to know who he really was, and that question would change both of their lives forever. The following Tuesday, Naomi couldn't concentrate. She was supposed to be organizing personnel records. Instead, she kept thinking about Jacob. There was something unusual about him. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. Yet everyone who truly knew him respected him. Even the elderly cleaners trusted him. The security guards greeted him warmly. The cafeteria staff always smiled when he arrived. It didn't make sense. How could one man earn so much respect? Without power, without money, without a title? That afternoon, Rebecca noticed her daughter's silence. "You've been staring at that file for 10 minutes. Naomi smiled awkwardly. "Have I?" Rebecca laughed. "My daughter." "What is it?" Naomi hesitated, then asked quietly, "Mom, do you think it's wrong to admire someone people look down on?" Rebecca closed the file she was holding. "Do you admire Jacob?" Naomi looked away. "I don't know. I just feel peaceful whenever he's around." Rebecca smiled knowingly. "I've worked in this company for 22 years. I've met directors, managers, consultants, executives." She paused, "But I've never met a cleaner who carries himself the way Jacob does." Naomi nodded. "Exactly. It's like he belongs somewhere else." Rebecca smiled. "Maybe he simply knows who he is." Later that evening, Jacob received an unexpected visitor. Richard Lawson, his father. The black luxury vehicle stopped several streets away. Richard preferred not to draw attention. Inside Jacob's modest apartment, the billionaire looked around. A small dining table, one sofa, a bookshelf, simple curtains, nothing luxurious. Richard smiled. "You've adapted well." Jacob laughed. "I never knew life could be this simple." Richard looked at his son carefully. "You've changed." "I know. For better." Richard nodded. "I agree." He reached into his briefcase, pulled out a folder. "The 6 months end in 3 weeks." Jacob looked at the folder. "What is it?" "Everything waiting for you. Your office, your cars, your penthouse, board meetings, business acquisitions, the life you left behind." Jacob slowly closed the folder. "I'm not ready." Richard looked surprised. "You want more time?" Jacob smiled. "I don't want more time. I want the right moment." Richard studied his son, then quietly asked, "Do you love her?" Jacob answered without hesitation, "Yes." "Why?" Jacob smiled. "Because she makes me want to become a better man, not a richer one." Richard couldn't hide his smile. For years, he had hoped to hear those words. The next morning, Naomi arrived at the office carrying homemade meat pies. She walked straight toward the janitor's room. Jacob looked up in surprise. "You came all the way here?" She smiled. "I made too many." Jacob laughed. "I think your definition of too many keeps changing." They both laughed. As Jacob reached for one, Victor Grant appeared. He stopped in the doorway. His face immediately darkened. "So this is where you disappear every morning." Naomi stood. "Good morning, sir." Victor ignored her. He looked directly at Jacob. "You seem to have forgotten you're paid to clean, not entertain visitors." Jacob remained calm. "I'm on my break, sir." Victor took a step closer. "You don't get paid enough to take long breaks." Naomi finally spoke. "He's been working since before sunrise." Victor turned sharply. "I wasn't speaking to you." The room fell silent. Several employees stopped to watch. Victor pointed toward the hallway. "Clean the executive staircase." "Now." Jacob quietly nodded. "I'll be there in a moment." Victor's voice grew louder. "I said now." Without another word, Jacob picked up his cleaning cart. Before leaving, he looked at Naomi. "It's okay." She watched him walk away. Something inside her hurt, not because he had been insulted, but because he accepted humiliation without allowing it to poison his heart. That afternoon, the Human Resources Department called Naomi. "Congratulations. You got the job." She couldn't believe it. "I'm employed." "Yes." As Junior Human Resources Officer, she thanked him repeatedly. The first person she wanted to tell was her mother. The second was Jacob. She found him polishing the marble staircase. "Jacob." He looked up. She was almost running. "I got the job." Jacob's face lit up. "I knew you would." She laughed with excitement. Without thinking, she hugged him for only a few seconds. But it was enough for dozens of employees to witness, enough for whispers to spread across the building, enough for Victor Grant to smile, because he had finally found a way to destroy them both. The following morning, Naomi received an official letter. She had been summoned to Victor's office. She entered calmly. Victor didn't offer her a seat. Instead, he placed several photographs on the desk. They showed her hugging Jacob. He folded his hands. "As a human resources employee, you should understand workplace professionalism." Naomi remained composed. "I do." Victor leaned forward, then explained this. She looked at the photographs. "He congratulated me." I hugged him. Victor smiled coldly. "Do you intend to marry a janitor?" The room became silent. Naomi slowly lifted her head. She looked directly into Victor's eyes, then answered without fear, "If God leads me to marry a janitor, I'll marry a janitor." Victor blinked. "You'd throw away your future?" Naomi smiled gently. "No, sir. I'd be choosing my future." Victor laughed mockingly. "You must be out of your mind." Naomi stood. With quiet dignity, she replied, "My mother taught me that a person's job may tell you how they earn a living, but their character tells you how they live." She turned and walked out. Victor stared after her. His anger burned hotter than ever. He made a decision that morning. If he couldn't control the janitor, he would get rid of him. Meanwhile, Jacob received a call from the Internal Audit Committee. Their investigation into Victor Grant was complete. The evidence was overwhelming. Millions of naira had been stolen. The committee wanted permission to proceed. Jacob looked through the office window. He could see Victor walking confidently across the courtyard, completely unaware that his empire of lies was about to collapse. Jacob answered calmly, "Proceed." The man who had humiliated the janitor for months had no idea that the janitor had just signed the order that would end his career. The next morning, the office felt unusually tense. Word had spread overnight. The Internal Audit Department had sealed several finance offices. Employees whispered in every hallway, "Did you hear? They're investigating someone." "I heard millions are missing." "No, I heard it's billions." Victor Grant walked through the building pretending everything was normal. His expensive shoes echoed across the marble floor. He smiled. He greeted people, but inside, fear had already begun to consume him. Jacob continued his morning routine, mopping floors, polishing glass, emptying waste bins, as though nothing had changed. Mr. Musa walked over. "Jacob, can I ask you something?" Jacob smiled. "Of course. You've been here almost 6 months." "Yes." "I've never seen anyone complain." "Not once." Jacob shrugged. "My father taught me something." Mr. Musa smiled. "What was that?" "If you're too important to do small jobs, you'll never deserve big ones." Mr. Musa laughed. "Your father must have been an extraordinary man." Jacob looked down quietly. "He still is." Across the hall, Naomi watched Jacob from her new human resources office. Every day, she found herself admiring him more, not because of anything he owned, but because of the peace he carried. She finally admitted the truth to herself. She was in love, not with a janitor, with a man whose heart had become impossible to ignore. That evening, Rebecca noticed her daughter smiling while preparing dinner. "You've smiled at that pot 3 times." Naomi laughed. Have I? Rebecca folded her arms. Tell me, is it Jacob? Naomi looked down, then smiled. Yes. Rebecca walked over. She gently held her daughter's hands. Do you love him? Naomi nodded slowly. I do. Rebecca searched her daughter's face carefully. You know life won't be easy. I know. He may never earn much. I know. There may be struggles. I know. Rebecca smiled. Then you already understand what marriage is. Naomi hugged her mother tightly. I don't need luxury. I just want peace. Rebecca closed her eyes, silently thanking God. The following Friday, Jacob asked Naomi if they could take a walk after work. They went to a quiet public garden overlooking the Lagos Lagoon. The evening breeze was cool. Children laughed nearby. Vendors sold roasted corn. Boats moved slowly across the water. Neither spoke for several minutes. Finally, Jacob broke the silence. Naomi, I need to ask you something. She smiled. I know. He looked surprised. You do. She laughed. You've been nervous all afternoon. Jacob reached into his pocket. He didn't remove a ring. Instead, he removed a small wooden key holder. Old, simple, handmade. Naomi looked confused. My father carved this years ago. Jacob said softly. He told me, a home isn't built by walls. It's built by the two people who hold the keys. He placed it gently in her hands. I don't own much. My salary isn't impressive. My future isn't guaranteed. But I can promise you this. I'll never stop respecting you. I'll never stop choosing you. I'll never make you cry because of another woman. And I'll spend every day trying to deserve your love. Tears filled Naomi's eyes. There was no expensive diamond, no luxury restaurant, no television cameras. Just honesty, pure honesty. She smiled through her tears. You forgot one thing. Jacob looked puzzled. What? You never asked me. They both laughed. Jacob took a deep breath, then quietly asked, Naomi Williams, will you marry me? Without hesitation, she answered, yes. 1,000 times. Yes. People walking through the park applauded. An elderly couple smiled. A little girl clapped excitedly. Jacob slipped a simple silver ring onto Naomi's finger. It wasn't expensive, but to Naomi, it was priceless. On Monday morning, the entire company knew. Someone had seen them in the park. Office gossip exploded. Did you hear? The cleaner is getting married. To Rebecca's daughter. What a shame. She could have done so much better. One executive laughed. Imagine introducing your husband. What does he do? He cleans toilets. The room burst into laughter. Naomi happened to be walking past. She stopped, turned, and calmly entered the room. The laughter immediately stopped. She smiled politely. I heard my name. Nobody answered. She continued, since we're discussing my future, allow me to say something. The room became silent. I've met people with expensive suits and very cheap hearts. I've also met a man with a simple uniform, an extraordinary character. She looked around the room. If loving a good man embarrasses anyone, I hope that embarrassment belongs to you, because it certainly doesn't belong to me. Without another word, she walked away. Not a single person could respond. Inside his office, Victor Grant smiled coldly. So, the fool really wants to marry the cleaner. He picked up his phone. Call Human Resources. I won Jacob's employment file. If I can't stop the wedding, I'll make sure he loses his job first. He ended the call, completely unaware that the employment file he had just requested contained the biggest secret in the history of Lawson Group, because the name Jacob Ade had never truly existed, and in less than 48 hours, the man everyone called the Janitor would disappear forever. When he returned, the entire company would meet someone they thought they had never seen before. Ethan Lawson, the owner, the billionaire, the man whose true identity was about to shake every floor of Lawson Group. The news spread faster than anyone expected. The janitor was getting married. Employees laughed. Managers joked about it during meetings. Even some directors couldn't hide their amusement. The poor girl. She could have married a lawyer, a banker, an engineer, but she chose a cleaner. No one laughed louder than Victor Grant. He leaned back in his leather chair and smiled. She'll regret it before their first anniversary. 2 days later, Human Resources received an anonymous complaint. The subject line read, "Unprofessional relationship between an employee and a janitor." An emergency disciplinary meeting was scheduled. Naomi walked into the conference room with confidence. Jacob followed quietly. Victor sat at the head of the table. Several department heads were present. The HR director adjusted his glasses. "Miss Naomi Williams, it has been alleged that your relationship with a non-administrative staff member could affect workplace professionalism." Naomi nodded respectfully. "I understand." Victor smiled. "So, is it true?" Naomi looked at Jacob, then back at the panel. "Yes." The room became silent. "We are engaged." A few people exchanged surprised looks. Victor laughed softly. "You're admitting it?" Naomi smiled. "I have nothing to hide." Victor leaned forward. "Then perhaps you should reconsider. You have a promising career. Why throw it away?" Naomi's voice remained calm. "I don't believe love is measured by someone's position." Victor smirked. "You honestly believe a janitor can give you the life you deserve?" Before Naomi could answer, Jacob gently touched her hand beneath the table. He wanted her to remain calm. Naomi looked directly at Victor. "I already have the life I deserve. I have peace. And I'd rather build a small home with a good man than live in a mansion with someone who has no character." The room fell completely silent. Even the HR director lowered his eyes. Victor's smile disappeared. He had expected shame. Instead, he found conviction. The meeting ended without disciplinary action. There was no company policy preventing their relationship. Victor left the room furious. He slammed his office door. "This isn't over." He picked up his phone. "Find everything you can about Jacob Ade. I want his school, his village, his family, everything." Hours later, his private investigator returned. "There's a problem, sir." Victor frowned. "What problem?" "The man doesn't exist." Victor stood up. "What do you mean he doesn't exist?" "The record stopped 6 months ago. No previous employment. No tax history. No social media. No relatives. No permanent address. It's as if he appeared from nowhere." Victor felt a chill run down his spine. For the first time, he became afraid. Meanwhile, Jacob drove to a quiet estate on the outskirts of Lagos, not in a luxury car. A simple taxi dropped him at the gate. Moments later, a black Rolls-Royce silently entered through another entrance. Richard Lawson stepped out. Margaret followed. Jacob hugged his mother. She smiled warmly. "You look thinner." Jacob laughed. "I've been doing honest work." Richard smiled. "And how does honest work feel?" Jacob looked at his hands. They had become rough. Small calluses had formed on his palms. He smiled. For the first time, "I understand the people who built this company." Richard nodded proudly. "Then the experiment has already succeeded." Margaret looked at her son. "When will you tell Naomi?" Jacob became quiet. "After the wedding." Richard looked surprised. "You're marrying her before revealing the truth?" Jacob nodded. "I need to know that she chose me. Not my name. Not my money. Just me." Margaret wiped away a tear. "Your grandfather would have been proud." 3 weeks later, wedding preparations were complete. It wasn't a luxury ceremony. No celebrities. No television cameras. No extravagant decorations. Just family, close friends, church members, and a few company employees. Many attended out of curiosity. Some came out of pity. Others came simply to gossip. One woman whispered, "I still can't believe she's marrying a cleaner." Another replied, "Maybe she couldn't find anyone else." Rebecca overheard them. She smiled quietly. "My daughter found exactly who she was looking for." Inside the groom's room, Jacob adjusted his simple black suit. Mr. Musa knocked gently. "May I come in?" Jacob smiled. "Of course." The elderly supervisor looked at him with tears in his eyes. "You've been the best cleaner I've ever supervised." Jacob laughed. "I had a good teacher." Mr. Musa handed him an old mop handle. Jacob looked confused. "What is this?" "I kept it." "It was your first mop." Jacob stared at it for a moment, then smiled. "I'll never throw it away." Mr. Musa nodded. "Never forget. No matter how high you rise, respect the people who clean the path." Jacob embraced him tightly. Neither one realized someone had witnessed the moment from the hallway. "Naomi," she smiled through tears. She didn't hear the conversation. She simply saw a humble man embracing the supervisor who had treated him like family. At that moment, she became even more certain. She was marrying the right man. The wedding ceremony was beautiful. Naomi walked down the aisle in a simple white gown. Jacob couldn't take his eyes off her. When the pastor asked, "Do you take this woman?" Jacob answered before the question was finished, "I do." The congregation laughed. Naomi laughed too. When it was her turn, she looked into Jacob's eyes. "I don't just choose you today. I'll choose you tomorrow. And every day God gives us." There wasn't a dry eye in the church. Even Richard Lawson, watching quietly from the back row where no one recognized him, held Margaret's hand. He whispered, "We didn't just find our son a wife. We found our family a daughter." As the reception ended, Victor Grant stood beside his car, watching from a distance. His investigator approached. "Sir, I found something." Victor turned quickly. "What?" The investigator handed him a sealed envelope. "I couldn't verify everything, but there's one document you need to see." Victor opened it. His eyes widened. His hands began to tremble. Inside was an old newspaper photograph. A much younger Ethan Lawson, standing beside Richard Lawson at the opening of Lawson Group's headquarters. Victor looked at the photograph, then looked toward the wedding hall, where Jacob was greeting guests. His face slowly turned pale. "No, that's impossible." He looked again. The smile, the eyes, the posture, the resemblance was unmistakable. The janitor and the billionaire were the same man. Victor whispered, "What have I done?" 4 months, he had insulted, threatened, and humiliated the owner of the company. And in less than 1 week, the annual general meeting would begin, the day every employee expected to meet the billionaire owner. Victor suddenly realized he already had, every single day. 1 week later, the entire Lawson Group headquarters buzzed with excitement. It was annual general meeting day, the biggest day on the company's calendar. Every employee, from the cleaners to the board of directors, would attend. For many junior staff, it would be their first opportunity to see the mysterious owner of Lawson Group. Rumors filled every hallway. "I heard he lives in London." "No, I heard he never visits Nigeria." "They say he's worth billions." "I've never even seen his photograph." Victor Grant sat alone in his office. His hands trembled. The newspaper photograph lay on his desk. He had compared it with Jacob's face more than 20 times. Every comparison led to the same terrifying conclusion. The janitor was Ethan Lawson, the owner, the billionaire. Victor whispered to himself, "No, this can't be happening." At exactly 9 a.m., the auditorium filled quickly. More than 1,000 employees took their seats. Naomi sat beside her mother. She looked around excitedly. "I've always wanted to see Mr. Ethan Lawson." Rebecca smiled. "So have I." Neither of them noticed. Jacob was nowhere to be found. Naomi checked her phone. No message. No missed call. She smiled to herself. He must still be cleaning somewhere. Backstage, Jacob stood quietly, not in his blue janitor's uniform, not in work boots. Standing before a full-length mirror was Ethan Lawson, a perfectly tailored charcoal suit, white shirt, deep navy tie, polished black shoes, a simple wristwatch, no unnecessary jewelry, no arrogance, just quiet confidence. Richard walked in. For a moment, neither father nor son spoke. Richard smiled proudly. I almost didn't recognize you. Jacob smiled. I almost didn't recognize myself. Richard adjusted his son's tie. Are you ready? Ethan looked at the old janitor's name tag resting in his hand. Jacob, he smiled softly. I'll always be ready. Because of him. He carefully placed the name tag inside his pocket. Outside, the master of ceremony stepped onto the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. The chairman of Lawson Group, Mr. Richard Lawson. Thunderous applause filled the hall. Richard greeted everyone warmly, then spoke. 25 years ago, my wife and I started this company with 12 employees. Today, we are over 8,000. The audience applauded again. He continued, but today, I want to introduce the man who will lead Lawson Group into the future. Everyone leaned forward. Richard smiled. For 6 months, he has worked among you. He has listened to you. He has learned from you. And many of you have unknowingly taught him. The audience looked confused. Victor slowly stood from his chair. His breathing became heavier. Richard continued, Ladies and gentlemen, my son, the managing director of Lawson Group, Mr. Ethan Lawson. Nothing happened. Employees looked toward the side entrance, waiting. Then, the auditorium doors slowly opened. A tall man stepped inside. Confident, elegant, calm. Naomi looked casually toward the entrance, then froze. Her heart stopped. The face was familiar, too familiar. She whispered, Jacob. The man walked slowly toward the stage. Every step echoed through the silent auditorium. Employees stared in disbelief. Someone gasped. Another employee stood up. Victor's coffee cup slipped from his hand. It shattered across the floor. The man climbed onto the stage. Richard smiled, then embraced him. Ladies and gentlemen, meet my son, Ethan Lawson. The room exploded with shock. Rebecca covered her mouth. Naomi couldn't breathe. She looked at the stage, then remembered every moment, every cup of coffee, every lunch, every conversation, every walk, every smile. The janitor had been the billionaire. All along, Victor suddenly rushed toward the stage. He fell to his knees. Sir, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I swear, I didn't know. The entire auditorium watched in silence. Ethan looked down at him. For several seconds, he said nothing. Then he quietly replied, I know. Victor cried openly, Please, forgive me. Ethan helped him to his feet. I forgive you. Victor looked relieved. Then Ethan continued, But forgiveness doesn't erase accountability. He turned toward the head of internal audit. Proceed. 2 security officers walked calmly toward Victor. The audit report was displayed on the giant screen. Fraud, diversion of company funds, forged contracts, money laundering. The evidence was overwhelming. Victor lowered his head. He wasn't arrested because Ethan hated him. He was arrested because justice had finally arrived. As security escorted him out, not one employee celebrated. The room remained silent. Everyone had learned something. Power doesn't corrupt everyone. Sometimes, it simply reveals them. Ethan returned to the microphone. I didn't become a janitor because I was bored. I became one because I needed the truth. He looked across the audience. I've attended expensive dinners. I've met presidents. I've negotiated billion-dollar contracts. But the greatest lesson of my life came while pushing a mop. He smiled. I discovered something. The people who clean your offices the people who guard your gates, the people who serve your food. They notice everything, and they deserve everything, especially respect. The audience erupted into applause. Then Ethan looked toward Naomi. She still hadn't moved. She simply stared at him. Tears streamed down her face. He stepped off the stage, walked through the crowd, stopped in front of her. "I'm sorry," Naomi whispered, "for lying." He nodded. "Yes, I wanted someone to choose me before they chose my money." Naomi smiled through her tears. "You idiot!" The audience laughed gently. She wiped away her tears. "You thought I fell in love with your uniform?" He looked confused. She gently held his hand. "I fell in love with the man wearing it." The auditorium burst into applause. Rebecca hugged Margaret. Both mothers cried. Richard quietly wiped away a tear. A week later, every employee received an invitation. At the company lobby, a beautiful glass display had been installed. Inside hung a neatly pressed blue janitor's uniform. Beside it rested an old mop and a simple name tag, Jacob. Below it, a bronze plaque read, "Never measure a person's value by the uniform they wear." Character is the only title that never changes. Every employee stopped to read it. Every new recruit learned its story during orientation. It became the heart of Lawson Group. Months later, Rebecca retired after 23 years of faithful service. Ethan personally presented her with the company's Lifetime Integrity Award. She smiled proudly. "I thought I raised a wonderful daughter." Ethan laughed. "You did. And because of her, you helped raise a better one too." 1 year later, Naomi and Ethan welcomed a beautiful baby girl. Richard held his granddaughter with tears in his eyes. He smiled at his son. "So, was the experiment worth it?" Ethan looked across the room, at Naomi, at their daughter, at the family that had grown from one courageous decision. Then he smiled. "It wasn't an experiment anymore. It became my life." As the sun set over Lagos, the camera slowly pulled away from Lawson Group headquarters. Employees walked into the building. Many glanced toward the glass display. Some smiled, some paused, some reflected. The janitor's uniform remained there, not as a reminder of disguise, but as a reminder of truth. Because greatness is never proven by the office you occupy. It is revealed by the way you treat people who can do nothing for you. If this story touched your heart, tell us in comments. If you met the love of your life while they were working as a janitor, would you still marry them if you believed they had nothing? Your answer may encourage someone to see beyond appearances. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more unforgettable stories of love, humility, redemption, and life-changing lessons. Share the story with someone who needs to be reminded that true wealth is measured by character, not by a bank account. Signature ending. Character opens doors that money never can. Until our next story, take care of the people you love.